Dr. James JC Cooley. That's right.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guest will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore them or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on The Answer. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on The Answer.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and wow, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way. We got these two people are dear to my heart. I love them. They're going to educate you, inspire you, and they're going to teach you a lesson, education, understanding, vision, understanding, and focus. So, wow, today we're going to be talking about the silent revolution, bridging generations through wisdom, imagination, and innovation. And I tell you, these two guests, well, since Michelle ain't here, I got to do I got to do Michelle portion of it. But, she's very good at what she's doing. Today, we got Dr. Jim Omps. This man right here is wonderful. And we also got his wife, Dr. Pauline Crawford. So let me tell you just a little bit about the purpose of the show. The purpose of the show was a sit-down discussion with Dr. James A. Omps. He's an international speaker, educator, writer, philosopher, composer, musician. You're going to hear some of his music today. Musician, expert in entrepreneurology and entrepreneurology and everything dealing with entrepreneurship. Dr. Pauline Crawford, wow. She is the founder and chief visionary officer of Corporate Heart International. She's the author, an international speaker, a program director for the International University of Entreprenology. Other thing we're going to talk about is how do baby boomers truly listen to those under 30? And how do we blend experience with fresh ideas to create enterprises in the workplace when young generations thrive? So I tell you what, I'm going to bring these two great folks on, and they'll tell you a little bit more about them. But I tell you what, let's bring to the stage right now Dr. Jim Omps and Dr. Pauline Crawford. I miss you guys.
We miss you too, JC.
Miss you guys. And I tell you what, it's an absolute pleasure having you guys back on the show. I love having you guys on because I learn so much every time that I have you all on. I tell you what, let's get started. Can you start with you, Jim? Can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about you? What makes you strive? Your love for music and a lot of other things that you're doing.
Well, I started out, obviously, a few years ago, JC. I started out to be part of the next Beatles. It's pretty obvious I didn't make that. So I said, well, okay, that group blew by. I still have a chance to be the next Elvis Presley again. And what I realized, JC, was that there was another stage that I could get into. And I had worked with my father, who was the founder of the International University of Entreprenology. And I realized what I really enjoyed doing was being in a room with other people, lots of them preferably, who were there to hear what I had to pass on. I did it for years in music. I still do it when I can. And it's still a rush for me. But there's a rush you can't define when you're in a room full of people. And you can see as you go on with whatever you're talking about, you can actually see the little light bulbs come on. You can see the change in expression. And you realize if you're only reaching one person, that one person could be the multiplier. You don't know, but it's a good place to be. And you, JC, you know that as well, or probably better than I do. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here for as many crowds, and I use the term very freely, that I have addressed or stood in front of. The most intimidating crowd is the ones out there that I can't see being on your show.
Hey, Pauline, can you give them a quick synopsis about you?
Well, I see myself as a global citizen. So as you can tell, I'm not American, I'm British. I come from London. But Jim and I met in Budapest. So this is the scale of the sort of global connections. But I've always spent my life really loving being with people I mean, as a kid, I always liked communicating. I was the center of information connection. And, you know, I loved fashion and design and people and connect and magical conversations. And my passion in England was to really understand people at work. I couldn't understand why, if you could have joy outside of work, you couldn't have joy inside work. And that was my passion for over 30 years. And then when I met Jim, I realized there was another whole world out there, including America and Malaysia, where we spent 4 years. And that on Zoom, you can get to anywhere in the world. And that the stages that Jim was just referring to, although it's not the same when you're only on Zoom, the stages are there and we can connect the world together. And you might say that's almost gratitude to COVID. You know, COVID allowed us to suddenly go out on the world. But I would agree with Jim, is the most exciting place is when you're actually in the room together. And in fact, when we met and we were living in Malaysia, we actually ran some sessions where Jim had his keyboard and I was doing the messages of psychology of success, and he was playing music appropriate to the actual journey that we were on. So for me, it's also about combining, if you like, wisdom, not just across generations, but in between subject matter expertise. I cannot play anything and I don't sing, even though Jim says I can sing, I can't, but I can dance and I can speak to enormous audiences. So when you start combining all that different energies, you get a really magic mix. And that's what I'm really passionate about. So I'm coming up 76 in May. Jim was just 81. And we are really cool boomers, I think.
You guys are absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. They just brought up something about wisdom. You know, how can wisdom and youthful imagination work together to spark creative enterprises?
Well, I want to just make a very important point here, is that 1/2 of the world's population, this is online, 1/2 of the world is under 30. And under 30-year-olds have been born, you know, just coming up to the end of the millennial or last century, and they've existed on this machine. You know, life has been totally connected through the internet, and they have a different experience. But the key thing is that if half the world is under 30, half the world is over 30. And our passion is, how do we mix the two together? How do we grab the wisdom of the older generations with the younger ones, and we don't get the naysayers in the way? Because I think sometimes older people think they've got to tell the young people what to do, and the young people don't want that. But if we share wisdom, and the use of imagination is, as famously Einstein said, is more important than knowledge because it's infinite. And every single baby in the world is born with imagination.
Well, what's interesting as well, pardon me, is that the mindset that we encourage, it's about keeping things in the real world. As you know, JC, wisdom, and you know, I don't know how much I have garnered along the way, but wisdom comes from experience. You can teach people something, you can help them learn, but until an educated person goes out into the real world and starts using the tools they've picked up in school, they'll never know whether or not they work for them. And that's where the mindset of entrepreneurology comes from. It's, and you hear this so many different ways from different people, and that is, you know, it's not about how many times you fall down, it's about how many times you get back up.
Hold that thought. We got to take a station break, but I want to pick it back up from there when we get back. I'll tell you what, whichever platform that you're watching us on, was E36 Television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, or if you listen to us on the radio, AM 660, The Answer, out of Dallas, AM 1170, The Answer, out of San Diego, welcome to the show. If you want to be part of the show, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life. Now we get ready to smile.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are, and one that keeps us close when we're apart. Walking from the darkness of all that we've been through, it seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of
really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Cooley. I've heard so many powerful stories from women who survived heart disease because they took action in time. But I've also heard stories of women who weren't as lucky. The difference? Awareness, access to care, and early intervention. According to the American Heart Association, every 80 seconds, a woman in the United States dies from cardiovascular disease. That's more than one life lost every single minute. But did you know that 80% of heart disease cases are preventable? That's right, 80%. That means small changes like eating healthier, exercising, and managing stress can save lives.
Hi, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I'm committed to making sure that more women survive and strive. Please join me in raising funds for the American Heart Association to support life-saving research, because every heartbeat is worth fighting for. In honor of Women's History Month, let's spread awareness and help women recognize the warning signs before it's too late.
It's the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Yeah. Come on.
Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, just like Josh Goldsmith just put it, loving this feel like a master class in entrepreneurology. Not just business, it's a mindset, movement, and meaning. I like that, Josh. I like that. I like that. Prior to the break, you were talking about wisdom. And how I see wisdom is we always are in search of wisdom through things that, experiences, just like you mentioned, that we gather along the way. Good and bad. So always have the mindset, I have a good bag on one side and I have another bag on the other side. And when I see somebody that's doing something great and whatever, I kind of grab the goodness and put it in the bag on the right. I see them doing something bad, I grab that, put it in the left. And you do that throughout life with experiences. And then in search of wisdom, when we have to make tough decisions, and we sometimes we have to sit back, because you don't want to be doing bad things that you got experience from. So I look in the good bag because I like how Jim said that. I pulled that out and utilized that because the more that you gain through experiences, the more you're on your way to attaining this thing called wisdom.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating, JC. When I was in Taiwan with my father years ago, obviously, I got into various what they call pictograms, the Chinese language, how they write it. And the fascinating part about the word or the pictogram for crisis is it looks like a person kneeling on the edge of a precipice, looking down, and the conventional wisdom, or maybe it's unconventional wisdom, for crisis is there's two parts of it, two parts in crisis. One is danger, obviously. The other one is opportunity. And those are the two. So every crisis has those two elements. And I once had a young student of mine come to me and say, you keep talking about opportunity, but he said, all the opportunities, really good opportunities have been taken. And I said, do we live in a perfect world? And he said, of course not. And I go, then there's a lot of opportunities out there. As Henry Ford said, opportunity comes disguised as hard work.
Speaking of that, this is for you, Dr. Pauline. It says, what specific strategies or framework do you think can facilitate collaboration between those with decades of experience and those with a more youthful set, boundary pushers and mindset in creating enterprises?
Well, again, I think wisdom is all about awareness and also sharing. So we've got to really explore how we observe traditional wisdom and keep it, but also shift because everything is changing so fast. So I think we also have to be very careful not to be conditional about wisdom. So it's not only in older people or younger people. And if we're going to really develop collaborative workplaces and social places and community places where you've got a mix of generations, you've got to stop and listen and be aware. And somebody might say something which is actually a piece of wisdom and you might not think it is because you look at it from a different perspective. So I think one of the things that we always look at is principles. What are the core principles that the Dalai Lama or Nelson Mandela or Desmond Tutu, famous sort of wise people, Mother Teresa. I mean, but we are all wise. And therefore, we've got to look at what is stuck in tradition and what is shifting to, if you like, new traditions. And that's what I see. I've been working with some 24-year-olds in Tanzania online. And I said to them very simply that the core human right is to think for yourself. Now, traditional education doesn't always do that. And therefore, they were all surprised and they couldn't believe what I was saying. They were saying, what do you mean? I can think for myself. Yes, think for yourself. I mean, that's a very basic piece of wisdom that we don't always honor in very traditional education, which says, sit down, behave, get your grades. And we've moved so far from on that. And when you look at the boomers like us, the millennials, the Zs, there's a big shift in how we see the world. And unless we listen to each other and talk to each other and share, we can't actually get to that collaborative new enterprise that would actually take us forward. And I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not making it conditional. And that's the thing is, it's looking at uncertainty. That's also part of wisdom. Would you agree?
I totally agree with that. And you brought up a couple of things, traditional and untraditional. And many people, just like what Jim was saying a second ago, they think all the opportunities are taken away or somebody else done. Well, we all got a mind. we all have what we call vision, understanding, and focus. You know, where
Okay. And I love what Joshua has just put up there, a little bit of rebellion, but not rebellion that hurts people. I think we've got to a stage at the moment where there's a lot of unwisdom. That's not a word, is it? But there are a lot of people not being wise at the moment because they're being over rebellious. Whereas,
let me read what Josh says to our viewers.
Oh, yeah.
Josh writes, strategy, psychology, and a little bit of rebellion. What one believe or rule in business, you are completely unlearned to get where you are right now. I think that's so true.
That's true. And Alvin Toffler said that. Do you remember we were talking about Alvin Toffler? Have you read Alvin Toffler's Future Shock?
No, I haven't.
Oh, a futurist.
Future Shock, the third wave, power shift. Alvin Toffler was a self-proclaimed futurist. He was always looking down the road. One of the things that I got from I read the third wave. I've read Power Shift. I've also read Future Shock. But it's amazing. He said change is going to happen whether we like it or whether we don't. He said it will occur. He said, but fighting change is tantamount to scrambling for a deck chair on the Titanic. And I thought about that over more than once over my lifetime. But it's the one thing the College of Business, and I'm familiar with that from an undergrad and a graduate understanding. Fail to plan and plan to fail. And it's amazing how many people, I don't know how to write a 5-year business plan. And I would, it's, and that's always been my big issue. I can write a business plan, but I fought it because it seems so conventional. But on the other hand, like Pauline, and I'll use her as an example, a good business plan she could thrive on. Where I might rebel a little bit. It's like, and wisdom can be, it comes from so many places, and there's conventional wisdom and there's non-traditional wisdom, but you must use your ability to think and to reason.
Absolutely.
And sometimes common sense becomes the one thing that you should listen to. What do they say? Your gut. That's not necessarily common sense, but it's certainly common sense is certainly something we need to bring back into the mainstream, because I think we've had a tendency to lose that along the way somewhere.
And I would definitely look up Alvin Toffler for those listening. And he said that the world ahead will only work with people who can learn to unlearn and relearn.
Yeah.
Because when we get stuck in steady, old-fashioned thinking, we can't move forward. And I think that's where I see there's great advantage with different generations, not disadvantage.
Absolutely.
Commander Smiley said, yes, spot on. Everyone forgets wisdom, imagination, transcend millennial groups. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a station break. We're going to come. We got a lot more with Jim and Pauline. And if you want to be part of this conversation, whichever platform that you're watching us on, all you have to do is just go to the comments. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Life is filled with circles and cycles, phases and stages that shape who we are. These moments define us, and we have the choice to either accept or embrace them. Hello, I'm Dr. Michelle Cooley, and I encourage you to support the J.C. Cooley Scholarship You Can Award so we can empower high school seniors and college students to believe that they can achieve anything they set their minds to.
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, the host of It's Your Life Radio and also founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. With your help through donations to this year's J.C. Cooley Foundation Scholarship Award, we aim to inspire, prepare the next generation of leaders. We kindly ask for your generous support to help bless at least 30 or more future leaders by donating between a minimum of $250 or more. Please consider donating what you can by May 1st and join us in shaping our future leaders of tomorrow.
Welcome to Veridian Christian University, where faith and learning come together to transform lives. At VCU, we believe that education is more than just academics. It's about fostering a community of growth, integrity, and purpose. Whether you're pursuing a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, VCU offers flexible, affordable, and 100% online degree programs that cater to your busy life. Our innovative platform provides a personalized learning experience, empowering you to thrive in today's ever-evolving world. Join a global community of learners guided by an experienced faculty who are committed to your success. With VCU, you're not just earning a degree, you're preparing for a future that integrates faith, leadership, and service. Veridian Christian University, educating with purpose, transforming lives. Learn more at VeridianChristianUniversity.com. VeridianChristianUniversity.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Oh, wow. I was getting off into the music. Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And I tell you what, I'm really having fun with the discussions that we are having right now. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching us on. Go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. I want to get back to this absolutely fantastic discussion. I think we need like 2 shows to complete all of this because it's so good. Somebody asked the question is, how can we foster an environment where both wisdom and youthfulness, imagination are valued equally, and ensuring that both contribution meaningfully to the success and sustainability of created enterprises? That's you, Pauline.
Well, I think one of the things that's interesting is that we have to blend the finite and the infinite. It's one of the things that's changed in the last several decades is entrepreneurship. And this is the whole reason that the International University of Entreprenology was created by Jim's father in 1972, is that traditional business has hit roadblocks now because of COVID, because of AI, because of crisis in the world. And one of the things that's going to change things is entrepreneurship, which is a whole mindset different. But it's not necessarily going to take down all the big corporates. It's going to change. And this is, I think, why we kind of said this is a silent revolution because the change is happening as we speak. And there are millions and millions and millions of entrepreneurs across the world, often solo entrepreneurs. We worked with many in Malaysia when we were there, especially women who run businesses, absolutely amazing. But there are not so many famous, huge businesses that you can quote as being entrepreneurs, entreprenologists, apart from Sir Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, what's his name, Walton. You know, there are
Sam
Walton, Henry Ford, KFC, chicken, whatever. They are the fewer rather than the many. But the shift is happening. And we see that, especially with the younger generations who are able to, if they're able to use their talent and really start businesses that can grow into bigger entities, because not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur. So we also need to have entrepreneurs, entreprenologists who create businesses, as Sir Richard Branson does. And this is one of the things I learned from Jim's father, is an entreprenologist is somebody who is creating a big business from small, not a small business to big, which means they have employees. And that's where I have a passion with the corporate heart, that we create places of work where people want to be there. And they don't have to be entrepreneur themselves, but they have to be entrepreneurial maybe to be in that environment. And so there's a silent shift going on. And we actually see the under 30s as between 18 when they leave school and 30, that's an optimum place for them to be supported and helped. They've got the ideas. We're not telling them what to do. We're helping them do it. Does that make sense?
What are your thoughts on that, Jim?
Well, I agree with Pauline. I'd be a fool not to. But I mean, and it's interesting. I know when you go on break, and you said it twice. It's, if you have a question, we'll get you an answer, and that's the key to a lot of university classrooms. It isn't, when you leave, not every answer is going to be up here. Nobody can do that for you. The trick is knowing where, not giving up until you find the answer. And that's basically what you've said here. We will get you an answer. And that's real life. Real life is not all the answers are up here, but don't give up until you find the answer, or an answer. Maybe there's more than one. But and like Pauline mentioned too, and that was something my dad's tried to drill into me. He said the trick is not starting a small business. Anybody with the drive can start a small business. He said the trick is to start a large business on a small scale. And when she mentioned Steve Jobs and I mean, Sam Walton never saw Walmart as anything less than it became. That was his vision, and it's continuing to move forward, and that's and change the rapidity at which change is thrown at us now makes that more difficult, but you can do it. And that's the mindset you have to develop, is find the answer and do not give up.
I like what you said, because I have a definition for change, and the formula is current behavior.
That's good.
Plus vision equal change.
Yep.
That's one way of changing. The second formula is current behavior plus intolerable pain leads to change.
Yes.
In essence, you can either change is going to happen.
Yes,
you can change with the brain, or you can change with pain.
Yes, indeed. Now those JC, you see, that
is wisdom.
Exactly. You just defined wisdom. It's something you have experienced that, and you can speak from experience, and it's stories that come from the heart, like your stories. Those are the things that the average person learns from very quickly. They like to know, they like, or at least believe that they're not a pioneer that just crossed that line with a target on their back. They are, but they'll listen to what you just said. And when they are driven to their knees, they will have the heart to get back up, because that's the way forward. And it's, I like I said, you continually throw something out there that is so usable. That's why I always loved your program. You've taught me a number of things. We'll get into that when I see you personally.
I look forward to it. We got another question from somebody saying, what shifts in leadership, collaboration, and purpose-driven culture must happen to attract and retain young talent? Pauline, you was talking a little bit about that a few minutes ago.
Yes, and I think, there's a lot of evidence out there that people are unhappy at work. So the people who are workers in the bigger corporations, especially women, which I study the state of women across the world, there's a lot of evidence coming out in the figures that women are being put down, leaving corporate. And so if you look at how do you create that, it comes from the leadership, but it's about principles again. It's knowing that everybody in the room has something to give. Everybody has a talent. And it's not driven by, HR tests or, grades and things like that, or even psychometric tests. It's about sharing. I think we've got to get into stories. And I believe that the under 30s, this 18 to 30 demographic, which is the largest demographic in the world, they want to hear stories. They don't want to be told what to do. So when I was working with the kids in Tanzania, I was giving them very simple things like share, listen, relearn. And they're going, oh my God, can I do that? So obviously they're still caught into a traditional college or work where they're being told what to do, not to think. So if you say everybody has talent, it's down to the business to address that and attract it in. Now, I'm always quoting Richard Branson, not because he's British, but because, as far as I know, he's got over 70,000 employees. And by all accounts, a high majority of his employees are happy at work. Now, that's a good level, because if people are not happy at work because they're not being used to their best ability, you're not using their talent, you're controlling them and saying, no, don't do that, do this. Then we're going the wrong way. I worked one time in a police department in London, and I was saying to this guy, use your natural talents. And he said, really? The police don't tell me that. They tell me to learn all the things that I don't know. I said, no, you need to use what you do know and expand it. If we do that with the younger generation and the older generation, really listen, then we can actually, I think, some of the medium to large companies can actually change their direction, but they're slightly difficult because they're a bit like the Titanic. Some of them are too, we can't sink. Oh yes, well, you might sink. So, and entrepreneurial organizations are going to grow and become the places of best place to work. I think that will be.
Hold that thought. I want to come back to that one. We got to take a station break. This is absolutely fantastic. So I tell you what, again, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching us on in the comments portion. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
A Black Man's Point of View is the newest Amazon.com #1 release and bestseller book from author Dr. James J.C. Cooley, featuring the perspective from 11 other contributing authors. In A Black Man's Point of View, Dr. James Cooley unpacks his thoughts and personal experiences about the challenges, stereotypes, and feelings of self-worth that many black men face today due to a 400-year ancestry rooted in slavery and colonization. Yet, how so many black men move forward despite this history. Most importantly, A Black Man's Point of View conveys that all men, regardless of race, creed, or color, are capable of love, respect, and dignity. Described as a map to a greater life from the heart of a man who's experienced life's misfortune and harsh conditions, James shows us how beliefs, convictions, and a healthy mentality can help propel a life worth living. A must-read for all. Order your copy of A Black Man's Point of View by author Dr. James J.C. Cooley today from Amazon.com or wherever books are sold.
In this life you are gonna grow, but there's things in this world that you gotta know. To be the best that you can be, you wanna grow really into a strong tree. To be who you're created to be, the one who's gonna leave a legacy is you. But you got to have these 4 C's. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence. It's the 4 C's. Gotta have it, oh yeah. It's the 4 C's.
At Viridian Christian University, we believe education is more than just a degree. It's a pathway to a purpose-driven life. Whether you're advancing your career, pursuing a passion, or building a new future, VCU's 100% online programs give you the flexibility to learn on your terms, anywhere, anytime. With expert faculty, personalized mentorship, and a faith-centered approach, you'll gain the skills, knowledge, and leadership you need to make a lasting impact. VCU offers bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees, each designed to empower you for success in today's fast-changing world. Join a global community of believers, learners, and leaders. Ready to start your journey? Viridian Christian University, transforming lives, empowering futures. Visit us at ViridianChristianUniversity.com. That's ViridianChristianUniversity.com.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, it's absolutely fantastic discussion that I'm having with Jim and Pauline. Mr. Smiley just said wisdom. He gave you his definition of it. It says wisdom, respecting people, different perspective based on their tradition, beliefs, and layman terms, parent to child, teacher to student dialogue to achieve a positive outcome. I think that's so great. But he also came up with this. And Jim, he came up with what wisdom is. Mm-hmm. When I say do, a adjective equal motivation. You know,
that's excellent.
You know, we got about 8 minutes left in the show. First of all, I want to get you guys back on because it's a lot of the stuff that we're not going to be able to get through today. And so I don't know if you guys got time in the next couple of weeks or so.
Oh, yes.
But we need to talk about this. The world needs to know. They need to know. And you
I
all,
agree. Yeah.
and you all are doing so many great things. Pauline, you're going all over the place teaching and inspiring, especially young women. So you mentioned 18 to 30, especially over in Africa. Half of the population is under 30. Just like you mentioned, maybe more than that over there. Maybe 75% of the population there. And it's kind of getting like that way around the world. So,
Yes.
So you want to talk about that a little bit, Pauline?
Well, I talk a lot about intergenerational wisdom. And as I said right at the beginning about the under 30 and over 30, I really think it's important that we listen to each other. In the old days before business, in indigenous tribes, people would sit around the fire and tell stories from the grandparents to the grandchildren or whatever. But we need to share more. And I mean, when I've been working with these kids in Tanzania, it's just fascinating how I'm doing just life skills and sharing very honest wisdom, and they're absolutely amazed. It's like their teachers haven't told them this, and they're 18 plus, and it's like, oh my God, we need to go back to very simple human wisdom, and it's knowing it's a life track. And out of that demographic, maybe only 5% will be the entrepreneurologists of the future that will create the businesses, but all the kids will be part of those businesses. So we're not just encouraging the owners of business and building enterprise, but get the right people around you, bring together the team that wants to follow your lead. And that's really where I think this whole idea of entrepreneurship needs to lift a level. Because I think on occasion, all the universities are doing entrepreneurship programs,
Of course.
but are they real life? And I tell you a story. There was a lady in Malaysia who said to me very proudly she had a PhD in entrepreneurship. And when I asked her, what's your business? She said she didn't have one. And I kind of thought, well, that's strange. How can you be a study of an enterprise building and not actually have your own business? So it's about common sense again that Dr. Jim was saying. We need to have real life stories and not put people down who can't do it, but say everybody is part of the story. The entrepreneurial employer boss and the entrepreneurial employee who wants to be there. And, famously, Steve Jobs was chucked out of his growing organization by a very traditional man. And then they brought him back because they lost the energy of that innovative person. So we've got to blend the two and make it not an either or. It isn't, you've got to be an entrepreneur or not an entrepreneur. You can be a really healthy, lively, imaginative, innovative person.
Oh, it's really interesting very quickly here. Taking her idol as the center of this, Sir Richard Branson, he asked one time, he said, and because younger people, before life takes all of that creative energy away from you, which it can do if you let it. But he said, he was talking to the government. He said, why is it we'll give young people X number of thousands of pounds to go to school, but if a young person comes to you and says, I've got a great idea for a new entity, why don't we give them some money to see what they're capable of doing? So, I mean, it's fascinating. Richard Branson has a lot of things going on in this world, and he's very oriented towards the younger generations because he knows from experience what wisdom he's developed that young people are the answer. I won't be here to see what the next generation does. So what we can do is pass on our wisdom or whatever wisdom we believe we have and then let them do with it what they feel should be done. Because
I love what you said. We're down to 2 minutes. What are 3 takeaways that we want our viewers and our listeners to get from this absolutely fantastic discussion?
I think one maker I would say is don't try and control young people. If you have any young people in your organization or you're looking to develop it, really listen, because that's the only way. And listen without judgment, because a crazy idea like Steve Jobs had about having a personal laptop, when it didn't exist, we didn't know it. It's like Henry Ford created the car when there were only horses. You know why? We got to open our heart and not control people, not say, no. Say, wow.
Show me.
Let's do it. So don't control, listen and make choices. And remember that not making a choice is a choice. And listen for opportunities. They're, as Dr. Jim said, they're everywhere. And everything is out. Now we've got AI and we've got all sorts of different things. We can do anything. Remember, the core right is to think for yourself. And in that thinking is your imagination and your innovative spirit and your talent. So let it flow. And if you're the person listening, always listen with an open mind.
I love it. I want to get you guys back on in a couple of weeks, just like I mentioned, because a lot of stuff that we did not cover. Plus, I just love having you guys on the show.
Okay, well, right back at you. We love being on your show.
So I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to come on the show. Let's do it again in a couple of weeks. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners out there for tuning in to the James Cooley Show Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My motto, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow. Well, Sunday, you catch us on the radio Sunday, AM 660, The Answer, out of Dallas at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can also catch us on AM 1170, The Answer, out of San Diego at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I tell you what, we'll see you again. Dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. Thank you.